Hello, everyone. I am Noor from the IB Odyssey podcast, and today I have my best friend who is Abbas Ali. Yay! I'm so excited to
Hello.
interview Abbas. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. It means so much.
Thank you for having me, Noor.
So, today we're going to be discussing extracurriculars in language and literature. So, Abbas, could you give like a little brief introduction about your interest in language and literature and some of the extracurriculars that you've done?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I've been doing co-curriculars since my O level started. I think writing just started as a means of expressing myself and accept myself, and then yeah, and then as events started, I think I just found myself doing it more and stuff, and that's where my love initially started. I have a writing account. I've published most of my writings in anthologies, and I've been doing publications for other events, and that's pretty fun.
That's so great. I love that you started off with telling about how writing and literature is your passion. So to
Mhm.
continue this, I wanted to ask you, how can literature be incorporated into extracurricular activities?
So I think this is a really good question. There's many ways you can incorporate it into co-curriculars. First of all, writing Olympiads and generally art events, because literature is a subset of art, is one of the most important and my personal favorite way of incorporating it. It can help you win awards and honors for university applications, and can also be a pretty fun experience, which can teach you team spirit and how to perform and stuff, which is pretty fun. Now, you can also do journalism and publications for your school's yearbook, or you could start your own publication, including the writings of other people or your own writings, which can also be really good for universities. And in another way, being good at literature in your and co-curriculars that involve literature can also help you with university essays and your personal statement, which universities, of course, value a lot. Yeah.
I love that answer so much because you also spoke about like a variety and how that impacts your college application, which is of course why we do so many extracurriculars. So, keeping in mind this, which activities do you think have had the greatest impact on your understanding or appreciation of literature?
Okay, so I think of all the co-curriculars I've done, I think poetry writing competitions have been my favorite because they've not only helped me gain confidence by reading out my own pieces to judges, but they've also helped me connect with a wide group of people and appreciate their art, which is how I've developed a more nuanced understanding of writing in general.
I totally agree with you. We also did a event last year together and I was there and I heard your poetry recitation and I genuinely think you guys should go and follow us on his writing account, which is Abbas Journal, because
Thank you.
his poetry is so good. He's my favorite poet and I'm not even particularly that much
Thank you
into
so much,
poetry
Noor.
myself. But like I swear Abbas is so talented. And you were talking about skills and that's why I kind of want to ask you that what are some of the skills that can be developed in literature-based extracurriculars, and how do you think they facilitate your overall profile for college applications?
So first of all, one of the more important things that a college really likes in a candidate is probably public speaking, which I've gained through performing my pieces. And uske alawa, I think I've developed a more nuanced understanding of literature, as I said in the past, which has also helped me to improve my writing, not just for my pieces, but also when I'm writing about myself for for CVs, applying to certain positions, and when the college application next year starts for me, hopefully it'll help me through that process as well.
That's an amazing answer. And based on this, I wanted to ask you that literature is something that's more considered as a niche in extracurriculars, and it's not as
Mm-hmm.
widely popular as maybe doing business or psych or something. So what are some of the challenges of engaging in literature-based extracurriculars that you've seen experiencing yourself?
So first of all, I'd like to say I 100% agree. Literature is a really niche activity, and sometimes it involves categories where you have to have a certain amount of reading skills, which sometimes I find myself struggling with, especially through classic books. I remember at certain event we had to like have a good understanding of some classic novels to win the event, and I think I struggled through that because I didn't really have that temperament to read all those books, which is why I struggled through that a lot.
I think that's genuinely such a good, insightful experience because, for example, like a lot of events I go to, either they don't have literature
Hmm.
related categories, which is why a lot of like my own friends who, get an issue with going to the event because they really want to do something literature based, but they're usually not a lot of categories. So, continuing that, have you taken on any leadership roles in any of your literature focused extracurriculars activities? And if you have, how has that shaped your experience?
Well, honestly, not in the category themselves have I done any leadership stuff, but while leading delegations towards other schools, I think that's helped me organize teams and just generally made me a more responsible person, which in turn could be, I guess, counted as a leadership skill because managing a group of people can get really complicated and be a lot of responsibility. And I think managing delegations has helped me with that experience.
To continue with the topic of challenges, like there's this thing called writer's block, which a lot of people obviously are, a victim to. So I want to
It's
ask you,
annoying.
I know, right? It's like I've heard you rant to me a lot about writer's block, and based
Hmm.
on extracurriculars, I wanted to ask you that what strategies do you use to, keep your engagement with literature as creative as possible?
So, literature is an art form, and I think that having that belief is first important because if you don't believe that literature is a form of art, then that's going to make your pieces very mechanical. And I've tried to make my writings as personalized as possible, and I've only tried to write about experiences I've personally gone through so that there's more of an effect on other people reading my pieces.
For sure, like when I read your experiences, sometimes I message you and I'm like, "Are you okay?" Because they're
Yeah,
so like deep and profound, but they're generally so well written and well thought out. I totally
thank you,
agree
Noor.
with you when you speak from as corny as that sounds, but when you speak from your heart, it's like more authentic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how have these extracurriculars that you've been doing for the past 2, 3 years, how have they influenced your academic goals or your future career aspirations?
So, first of all, they've given me a more broad understanding of what I want to pursue. In my O levels, I took a mix of humanities and STEM subjects. And through literature, I've discovered that the STEM aspect of my subjects aren't for me, which has kind of given me more clarity on what I want to take in my A levels, which are more humanities, essay heavy subjects. And having that understanding and like appreciation for literature has given me a more nuanced mind, which I think humanities A level subjects often require.
That's such a great answer because I
Thank you.
personally have also done some extracurriculars which have changed my own career trajectory. So
That's
I
great to hear.
totally thank you so much. I totally agree with you that doing extracurriculars can kind of help you understand if you're more for like for example, like you said, for the humanities side or more for STEM. So to continue this, I wanted to ask you, how do you think that these extracurriculars contribute to your personal as well as your academic growth?
So this is a question that once I read, I was really excited because I already had the answer in my head.
Yay,
The
I'm glad.
first thing was, yeah, it was really nice. So one of the first things it did was help me understand myself as a person more because before I wrote an experience, I thought about it a lot. And I read this quote from one of my favorite singers, Fiona Apple, which said, "If you know yourself, then you know the world." And I think that writing about myself has helped me discover myself more, discover what I like about myself and what I dislike about myself, which is in turn made me a more aware person.
I genuinely love that so much because that's so true. Like when you really write about your own
Mm-hmm.
experience, like it helps you also clear your own thoughts and understand where you are better. So
Absolutely.
I just love that. And
Mm.
like you were talking about school and you were connecting your extracurricular experiences. So based off that, how do you think that the incorporation of extracurriculars in literature has like how have you done that? Like how have you incorporated extracurriculars in literature with school? As you're talking that a lot of STEM subjects are usually offered in school these days.
So basically, I think I've managed to incorporate literature by by writing more broad answers in my essay-based subjects. So in my O-level subjects, I took O-level literature, and that involved a lot of essays, a lot of critical thinking, and I used the experiences. For example, I had to once write really long analysis about a short story called The Yellow Wallpaper and make a presentation on it. I think that experience helped me dissect pieces better, which helped me manage to get an A in my O-level literature grade, which I'm really grateful for. It's also in general helped me understand what I require for my new A-level subjects, which, as I said, are very essay-dense humanities.
First of all, congrats on your A. Like you totally slayed
Thank
that
you.
paper. And second of all, I'm just so grateful for your, insights because I've known you for like 2, 3 years now. And since the
Hmm.
past few years, I've known that you're like such a literature kid that when you would talk to me about like taking physics and stuff, I'd be like, why are you taking physics, Abbas? You're so like literature inclined.
I'm
And
so happy I don't have to do it anymore.
I totally get you because your writing is so good. Like your writing expression is amazing. And I just want to like ask you my final question, which is like,
Hmm.
what advice would you give to students just like you who are considering joining a literature-based extracurricular? And like, what advice would you give them in regards to pursuing literature over other career trajectories?
So first of all, there's a lot I'd like to say to my past self who was starting to pursue literature activities. The one thing advice I would give to him and also other students would be to not pressurize yourself. Don't expect yourself to write whenever you want to write because writing will come in bursts, and that's something you'll have to get used to. And
That's
you should
so
also
good.
Thank you. And you also shouldn't pressurize yourself to like write and stuff because that's going to make your writing less authentic, and it's also going to make you seem like a very mechanical human being. And uske alawa, I just think you should go with the flow with literary activities. Don't try to like pre over plan stuff because it's going to make you more stressed when things don't go to plan because art is a very unpredictable thing and it's not always judged very fairly because a judge might have a different outlook and compared to you. And most importantly, of course, make friends because I think most of the friends I've made are through extracurriculars in literature, which I'm eternally grateful for. Yeah.
This is some solid advice because we all wish we could go to our past selves and kind of tell them to take it a bit
Mm-hmm.
easy and not be as overwhelmed as we were. So, Abbas, thank you so much for your insightful, examples you've given about your own self and discussing extracurriculars and literature. I'm so glad to be recording this podcast with you. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Noor. This is a really great experience. I really hope this can help other people who are considering doing literature for their co-curriculars.
I'm sure it'll help a lot of people. And to whoever's listening, go follow Abbas's poetry account, which is called Abbas Journal on Instagram, because he writes some of the most amazing poetry I've ever read. And I take
Thank
English HL, so I have sadly read a couple.
you. You'll be great, Noor.
Exactly.